So, Travis, why don't we just get started, and then as people come in, because this gentleman's probably busy too, and he wants to get on the show floor.
All right. So good morning. I want to present cyber insurance to both Archery Retailers and Manufacturers. My name is Travis Puff. I'm a marketing broker with Amwins Insurance here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. With me today, I've got Jeff Ragnacourt and our folks from our partner CFC, Elliot Everson and Paige Carey. On the agenda today, we're going to go through some quick introductions. I'm going to talk on a few different coverage pieces that really apply specifically to the retailers, manufacturers, some really high level stuff. Talk about some controls and action steps that you guys can put in place to really protect yourselves and set yourselves up for the future. And then Elliot and Paige are going to jump in and share some claims examples, some real world situations to help you understand how this best applies to you, what the true risk is. And then lastly, talk about our cyber program, which essentially is your own cyber policy, but an entire program built in with retailers, manufacturers, like insureds, that provides a discount for you versus just going and getting your standard own policy. So with that said, I want to jump into introductions. Jeff, I feel like the people in the room probably know you, and you'll have a chance to probably touch on some things after the call. So we'll skip forward. Again, my name is Travis Puff. I specialize in cyber insurance, but I also specialize in bow hunting. Avid bow hunter, outdoorsman, love to hunt and fish, but bow hunting whitetail is my biggest passion. So it's really cool to be able to marry a passion of mine with my job and something I'm an expert in, to bring this to you guys. Next year, hope to be there in person. This year, my wife had baby number 3 about a month and a half ago, and she might have shot me with a bow if I decide to travel at this time. So join you virtually, which is nice because we'll be able to have this recorded and be able to share with all future prospects of Jeff's. Paige and Elliot, if you guys want to jump on, introduce yourselves real quick.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Travis. So I'm Elliot, an underwriter at CFC. So we're one of the insurance carriers that Travis works with regularly. So yeah, super excited about the opportunity to present today, get you excited for cyber, and sort of just let you know sort of your general exposures and what can go wrong if you don't have cyber insurance. So yeah, thanks for having us today.
Perfect. And I'm Paige. I work alongside Elliot at CFC on the cyber team. And again, yeah, really looking forward to talking all things cyber.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. All right, let's jump into a couple coverage pieces here. I've got really 3 areas of coverage I really want to highlight for you guys. First one being ransomware. This is one of the most common cyber attacks that we see with our insureds. And ransomware at its base is extortion. So essentially, a bad actor is going to be getting into your network and taking hostage of your ability to access your network, control your network, be able to do things within your network. And it's also, there's a chance that they have actually harvested all the data and are holding that hostage to potentially go and sell on the dark web. Essentially, in doing that, they're saying, hey, we've got access to everything, we've got control of everything, and if you want it back, you need to pay us money. There are methods and ways in which, the cyber team at CFC could jump in and get everything back up and running, go off the most recent backups, work with you to see if it makes sense in paying that extortion. Obviously, in the best case scenario, we're not paying this bad actor, this terrorist that's coming in and trying to take advantage of you and your system. But they're going to evaluate each instance on a case-by-case basis. And the policy itself is going to come in and protect against that for whatever costs come along with this, because there's more at stake than just the ransomware event itself and really going into what they could potentially do after that. The next coverage I want to talk to and kind of really that what's at stake piece is the business interruption. Depending on how long your systems are down, depending on what data has been taken, that limits your ability to get moving again, this business interruption piece can come in play. Depending on the time frame you're down, it's going to cover the lost revenue, the lost opportunity, that you're missing out from a business standpoint because you're not operational. And this can be both, on your end or someone that you rely on, a vendor or a supplier, if they have a breach, if their systems go down, what impact that has in your business. This part of the policy can really come into play in a few different areas. And there's also system failure as well, that if your systems in themselves go down, this can still kick in that aspect as well. So you're covered from a lot of different aspects, really making sure that if your business is interrupted, if you're not able to perform your duties, your job to make income the way you're supposed to, and if it's cyber related, this coverage is going to kick in there to help out in that regard. The one coverage piece that I think is the most important, especially as we traverse into the world that we're heading into, is social engineering. It's cyber crime. There's a number of different ways that this can be enacted to really wreak havoc and come down on uninsured. The reason why this is most important is with social engineering, the last line of defense is a person. It's a human being. And as technology continues to evolve and get greater and greater and greater, our understanding as regular humans running an archery retail shop, running a manufacturing plant, our understanding of the capabilities and truly the disguise and deception becomes more and more minimal. There's a few different techniques that people will use to essentially manipulate and get information that they would need to go and enact a crime against you. One thing being phishing emails, sending out links that you click on that could potentially introduce malware to your system, to where they could garner keystrokes, where they could get sensitive information, logins, accounts, to be able to go in and wreak havoc, transfer funds, see your systems, be able to go in and really extort you to all sorts of different possibilities, and where they can kind of create havoc there. And also, it can come through just with verbal, written, over the phone, in person. There's a number of different ways, and there's been a number of different situations in which a bad actor or a criminal has utilized social engineering to essentially manipulate their way in to get the information they need. AI is a huge factor in this, because depending on the social engineering method they deploy, AI makes it harder and harder to detect. There's been situations where people's voices have been recreated, their image has been recreated through a video screen, where you think that you're talking to me just like you are now. You see me on the computer, you see my face. AI can now replicate that and make it that much harder. Some tie-in coverages here that we're going to hit on a little bit with some of the claims examples, but invoice manipulation through some social engineering, if they're able to get in, they can see, the invoices coming in, they can see the invoices you're sending out, to both essentially disguise themselves and fool either yourself or one of your clients or vendors that money's going through. I mentioned funds transfer fraud, getting into your actual financial accounts, moving money from your accounts to theirs. There's a lot of different areas on the cybercrime piece that really stems from the social engineering and what makes you vulnerable. Last bit I want to jump into is just some controls and action steps that you guys can put in place to really protect yourselves from some of this stuff happening on the front end. Paige and Ellie are going to go into a little bit more on how this really works alongside your policy and protecting yourself in the front end, but also having that protection in the back end. The first one is EDR, or endpoint detection and response. This is essentially, think about a 24/7 security of all the different endpoints of your network, all the different vulnerabilities, scanning for any potential vulnerabilities that pop up where a bad actor could make their way into your system, alerting your cyber team behind you to jump in and mitigate the problem where it started. The second piece is that multi-factor authentication, or MFA. MFA, kind of speaking to where the real threat is with AI, is not knowing who you're talking to. MFA is essentially creating a dual factor authentication. As you're logging in, you may have it on your banking apps where you try to log into your bank and it says we're going to text you a code, enter that code. That's a MFA tool that's essentially using a secondary means of authentication to make sure that you're actually speaking with the person you're speaking to, that you yourself are trying to access your accounts. It's an added layer of protection that you can employ on the front end to mitigate some of these things happening on the back end. But at the end of the day, vigilance is key. It's important to stay on top of it. So with all that being said, I want to turn it over to Elliot and Paige here to talk on some different claim scenarios and how it could impact you directly as either a retailer or a manufacturer.
Yeah, thanks, Travis. So the first scenario I thought we'd talk about is crime losses. So these are the most frequent losses we see at CFC. So they happen all the time. Threat actors have gotten so cunning and incredibly sneaky and clever at how they basically do these attacks, right? So they can trick you into sending money, as Travis said. And the first example I just wanted to say, so you're a retailer or a manufacturer and you're regularly buying items from a known vendor, but unknowingly to yourself, that vendor's actually had a business email compromise. So a fraudster has managed to get into their emails and is actually watching the emails come in about the bank transfers and is becoming really sophisticated in what they're learning and how you wire and send money. They then can use artificial intelligence or all sorts of technology to create a fake invoice, and they'll ultimately change the bank details and trick you into sending money to themselves instead of the vendor who you think you're sending money to. So ultimately, we can see crime losses of all sorts of sizes, really. We've seen them in the millions, we've seen them in the thousands. But if you were to send £100,000 to the threat actor thinking it was your vendor, it would eventually come to light that this has gone to the threat actor's bank account and the money's been lost essentially. So what cyber coverage does is that would then reimburse you for your financial loss as a result.
So Elliot,
yeah.
We have in the room Archery Retailers. We do something similar at West Michigan Archery Center where I teach, where we order all of our Junior Olympic kids archery equipment online with Lancaster. So there's probably an exposure that we're facing when we do that.
Yes, definitely, 100%. So whether you're, buying those bows in from a manufacturer, that manufacturer could have a breach of their network or their emails, and you could easily accidentally send money to a threat actor to a fraudulent bank account. The same works for the manufacturers buying in items that they'll then manufacture into bows and arrows or archery equipment. It really just depends. It really could be anything, really, but it's incredibly frequent. It happens all the time. It can be as simple as just changing one letter in an email and some bank account details, and then money ends up in the wrong hands. So yeah, incredibly applicable to sort of retailers and manufacturers, especially of this association. Yeah.
So Elliot, let me ask you a question. I'm sure a lot of us are running along fat and happy. We know we've got antivirus software on our computers. How often should we check on that to make sure they're getting update to be able to address something like this? Because it looks like
100%. Travis, would you mind going to the next claim scenario? Actually, it just sort of touches on something that can happen. So the example I sort of picked here is leading on from the ransomware and business interruption events, and sort of touches on how not regularly updating your software can lead to really severe events unfolding, like a ransomware event. So it's incredibly important to take care and focus on your cybersecurity. So that would be implementing MFA, endpoint detection and response, making sure you have firewalls and antivirus in place, and making sure your systems are up to date. So I've picked a ransomware event because these are the most severe sort of scenarios you often see, and they've sort of taken the cyber world by storm really in the last sort of 3-4 years, particularly since COVID and remote working sort of increased and companies use more and more technology. So the example I've sort of gone with here is in regards to a manufacturer, particularly if you're manufacturing bows at your facility, for example, and you use CNC machines or manufacturing machinery that's connected to the production line or connected to your network. If a hacker gets into your system, and they can get in via loads of different ways, they can hack your network just using a brute force attack, so they can just know your email and password, or they can get in through outdated software. Once in the network, they can cause absolute chaos to your systems. They can steal data, they can cause your systems to halt. So for example, if you have a piece of code that is imperative to the running of your mission critical systems and stuff like that, they can exfiltrate that out, or they can get access to private and sensitive data as well and steal that and release it on the dark web.
So Elliot, this would affect manufacturers like because we write several of them, like HHA Sports, Chris Ham's company, or
Yeah.
Quality Archery Designs that does their own CNCing as well. There's tons of archery equipment manufacturers that have their own in-house CNC machines, so those can actually get hacked from outside.
Correct. So especially as the world becomes increasingly reliant on computers, this machinery is connected to the network. So threat actors or fraudsters are so sophisticated in how they steal data. You have massive organizations that plot attacks, and they will literally look for anyone that's easily exploitable. So they can see if you've got outdated or unpatched software, and they then know to attack you. And yeah, because this machinery and the manufacturing equipment is connected to the network, in many cases, they can completely cripple and halt your operations. So the impacts from that, and it's the same for retailers as well, actually, I might add. For example, you can still do the same and bring, say, a retailer's network down, stop them from being able to sell products online. So for retailers that are selling bows equipment online, if you can't make a sale because your website is down, that also leads to like large losses as well. So touching on the sort of potential impacts, I just wanted to go into several that we see quite often at CFC. So the first one is an extortion demand. When a threat actor holds your valuable data, so for example, hold that piece of code that stops your machinery from being able to function, they can look to exploit you for a financial gain. So you can see an extortion demand or a ransomware payment in the millions, and we've seen some really big ones in our time. So CFC provides coverage for, in the event that you can't restore or get that code back in place without paying the threat actor, we provide coverage for that extortion payment. Next is sort of income loss, and Travis touched on this as well. So if your systems are down, you can't manufacture those bows, especially if you need to use that CNC machinery, and therefore you lose out on being able to operate at maximum capacity and run your business profitably. It's the same with retailers.
Elliot, for a manufacturer on the CNC machines being down, is there a waiting period before the policy kicks in, like 72 hours or something like that, which is common in business interruption claims, or is it right away?
Yeah, so it'd be an 8-hour waiting period would be on the CFC policy. But once it goes to 8 hours and 1 minute, the full income loss is covered with CFC. So yeah, and that's the same with pretty much all carriers across the market. But yeah, as soon as it goes over that 8-hour period, the full loss is covered. So therefore you don't lose out on any income loss as a result.
Okay.
And it would work the same for retailers as well. If they can't sell products online because their website is down from an attack, the policy would respond in the same manner. And then the next point was reputational damage. So you can't always put a value on the reputational damage of a cyber event, but cyber insurance does provide coverage in some aspects. So if you can't meet a quota for a contract because your manufacturing machines are down and you can't manufacture the equipment or the bows that is needed for the contract, and you lose that contract as a result, cyber coverage would respond and pay for the loss of that contract up to the limit that's been purchased. And then lastly is privacy violations. So often with ransomware attacks, they get hold of sensitive and private information, and this can be information belonging to customers, to your vendors, on your employees. And once this is breached and there's been a privacy violation, you're essentially legally liable to notify those that have been impacted. You also might need to pay for forensic costs. So someone needs to come into your network and establish what's been impacted and what's not been impacted, so you know who to notify. And then also under the state, you can be issued with fines and penalties as well. So that's where coverage comes in. All of those costs are covered by your insurance carrier, by CFC, and ultimately you won't be at a financial loss in the event that a ransomware attack happens. I then just wanted to quickly touch on, but why CFC policy? Why choose CFC as your insurance carrier? So we sort of go one step further than just providing financial compensation. So we endeavor to try and prevent claims from happening before they even take place. So how we do that was, with this particular manufacturer example, we were able to scan a network and work out that there was actually someone who was inside their network. And then we could reach out using our massive cybersecurity experts team and incident response handlers to help them patch their system before anything could go wrong in the first place. So often you hear in the news and stuff like that, oh, there was this massive event that took place, this large company got hit by a massive cyber attack. But actually what we're trying to do at CFC is we're trying to talk about the Monday mornings where you come into work and everything's actually working perfectly. And that's because by being your insurance carrier, we've been able to reach out and stop you having any form of attack before it even happens. But
Hey, Ellie, I got another question.
yes,
So we have in the room retailers. So most retailers take credit cards when the people come in to buy their stuff. Are you
yeah.
saying their credit cards could get attacked as well when they're swiping, even though the retailer hasn't done anything wrong other than process the MasterCard or whatever?
Yeah, so if they're storing PCI, which is the payment card information, they very much are liable if that gets stolen or impacted from a breach, would be liable for notifying those individuals whose credit card information it is. But also it would depend if that's stored with a third party or not. So there's the different nuances to it, but it's incredibly applicable to retailers as well, especially as they store information on their customers and stuff like that. So yeah.
Something similar to that happened with T-Mobile. It's a wireless cell phone service, and their system got hacked big time, and all of their users had their phones hacked as well. And God knows where they went after that once they got into the customers' phone systems.
Yeah, exactly. And it can be incredibly costly for those companies, especially the big ones, from, a reputational impact, from a financial impact. So without cyber insurance, it really sort of shows that you could be in a predicament really, and struggling to remain profitable, particularly if you're smaller. I've sort of just wanted to try and simplify it a little bit on how cyber insurance works. So I wanted to touch on thinking about us as sort of like your own theft insurance or home security team. So if you're an archery retailer and your bows get stolen, CFC works in the same way. We will give you financial money for if those bows are stolen. We also, in talking about the proactive side, we also act as your own retail shop security or CCTV system. So if there's someone suspicious walking around your retail store, that's what we do with your network. We will alert you if there's someone suspicious lurking about. And if we think they're going to rob from your store, we'll reach out and let you know. Also, it's like if you forget to lock your retail store at the end of the day, we'll know if there's a way for someone to get into your network. So we'll be able to let you know if your door's unlocked so you can lock it. And sort of in simple terms, that's basically what cyber insurance is. And that's what CFC is trying to do, is stopping those attacks from happening in the first place.
Thank you. I know on my own computer, there's nothing scary than when you see your screen go red and it says you have been attacked by ransomware.
Exactly.
And you feel helpless. Fortunately, one of the things I do is I back up everything I have on the cloud. So my computer guy said, when did the hack? He went in to see exactly what time the hack occurred. And then he was able to go segregate that as a separate file, never to be reopened again, and then go back into the cloud and then download the cloud so I was current again. So we never paid a penny. But that's scary. Go ahead, guys.
So, and there's one thing I really want to piggyback off of this slide that I think Ellie did a great job explaining is a lot of times I think there's this misnomer with cyber insurance that these bad actors, they're targeting these super large companies, they're going for a multi-million-dollar loss and these big payouts. But over 70% of cyber attacks happen on actually small to middle-sized businesses. A lot of which are archery retailer manufacturers are going to fall into that class. And the reason being, and Elliot hit on this, is they're plotting and they're looking for soft targets. So they're looking for industries where they think they may not be as technologically savvy. They may not update their systems on a regular basis. They may be an easier target. So that's why we see a majority of cyber attacks on these smaller businesses. And in fact, there's also a statistic out there that if a small to medium-sized business gets hit with a cyber attack and they do not have a cyber policy in place, over 50% of those businesses are closing their doors. So you could have an archery retail shop that's been in the family for 70 years, and if you don't have that policy in place, if you get hit with a very large cyber claim where there's notification costs, where there's fines and penalties, the cost can add up so much that it cripples you. And especially in America, the backbone of our country and the backbone of our economy is our small business owners. And so we need to do everything in our power to really educate and really show the true risk that's out there. And cyber is, I think, the most growing threat when it comes to small businesses and how they operate, especially, as Elliot mentioned, as our reliance on technology increases exponentially.
I
So
got a
Yep.
question for you, Travis. You know, besides some pimply faced teenager who thinks that they're going to be able to hack here in the United States, don't we have a bunch of bad actors all over the world, including China and Russia?
China, Russia, Ukraine, there are a lot of international threat actors that love nothing more than to create havoc on American businesses. They actually have teams out there where their entire existence and sole effort is to come in and create cyber attacks. And on the other side, even on home soil, as AI develops, as it becomes stronger, your average criminal out there that's out stealing copper wire or catalytic converters, if they can learn how to operate a laptop in a simple form of AI, as that progresses, it can become easier and easier for them to go in and attack small businesses with very minimal protection on their end, as soft targets and low-hanging fruit. So we're going to see cybercrime increase all around, from your low-level criminals to your super sophisticated high-tech teams over in Russia and China. So a lot of threat from a lot of different areas that's exponentially growing in my eyes.
So this being something relatively new, and of course we hear about these hacks occasionally on the news and so forth. This is a whole new frontier. And a lot of people probably are sitting back saying, well, yeah, but I've been in business a long time and I've got antivirus software and I'm good to go. It's never going to happen to me.
Mm-hmm. No, and that is a general thought. And we were talking before we jumped on this call when cyber insurance first came out, and Elliot shared that CFC started doing cyber in 1999, and they were one of the trailblazers. Cyber insurance still, even 25 years later, is at its infancy. It's the tip of the iceberg of where this market is going, because technology is increasing at an exponential rate. And when we talk exponential, it means truly our minds can't even truly wrap themselves around the capabilities and reliance that we're going to have on technology 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It's going to continually grow. Crime is going to shift into the virtual sense, and really the true exposures are going to be really tied into cyber. So I'm a firm belief that we're still at the tip of the iceberg of where this entire industry is going, as our world continuously advances on a technology standpoint. I don't know.
This program is more than you just buy an insurance policy and hope nothing happens. You're actually getting some value-added service in their ability to guide our customers to avoid having the type of claims that we've been talking about.
Perfectly said. No, and I think that's a great segue to go into the policy itself and this program that we have available for retailers and manufacturers. And I'll let Paige and Elliot jump back in here.
Yeah, thanks, Travis. So basically, what we're trying to do is create a sort of a hands-free, a very simple program that everyone can enroll in should they wish to. So the benefits of that really is the premium discount. So if we were to see an account on an individual basis, it would cost a lot more than it would do from being able to get premium savings from entering in a program. And also with that, you're still getting full access to absolutely everything CFC has to offer. So just in short, this is award-winning, market-leading cyber coverage, which has been purpose-built for small businesses across the world, really, specifically for retailers and manufacturers of this size. You're also getting access to the largest claims team and instant response team in the market. So this is a team that is on hand 24/7, 365 days a year. So when you get that black screen of death and your computers aren't working and you don't know what to do, we're on hand within 15 minutes to help you get that system back up and running. And this is, a team of experts that handle thousands of claims every year. It really is that many for us, and they're going to be on hand to guide anyone in getting their systems back up and running as quickly as possible. This is also getting access to those proactive services. So if you were to actually pay for these services individually, it would cost you in excess of $60,000 probably, but you're actually getting this for a discounted premium of, say, whatever it is, much less than £60,000. And this is where our team of cybersecurity experts have the sole aim of protecting you throughout their entire policy period in the very technical ways that they do it, but they're there just to stop you from having those situations unfold. But then rest assured, we're that peace of mind that if it does go wrong, which it could, we're here to help you provide that coverage, provide that help that you need when it does. So that's what you'll be getting access to. And then in terms of the program structure as well, so we're looking to set up a pricing matrix so everyone will know based on the size of their business what they'll be getting. And this will be an instant sort of
That's in your
quote
packets.
to bind. So you'll be able to have a policy pretty much instantly. And this is hoping to be as frictionless as possible for you. So you're not asking, unless you're over 100 million revenue size, we're not asking for long application forms. We're not asking confusing and difficult questions. It really is, if you're a retailer and you're sub 50 mil, we just need your revenue figure to confirm that, your URL, and we can issue coverage. And then for entities that are between 50 to 100 mil, just looking for those three basic controls, which are MFA for emails, MFA for remote access, and then just a good backup solution in place, which would be either offline, air-gapped, or cloud backups with MFA. So that's sort of an oversight of what the program's looking like. Wanting to just make it as easy as possible, simple, quick, easy cyber coverage for everyone involved, whilst benefiting from everything that we have to offer, so that we can, yeah.
Oh yeah, I got a question. Travis
Yeah.
and Paige, you can chime in too. Have you ever done a master program for an association of members?
We have, Jeff, and that's actually probably why I'm on the call, and my sort of specialty at CFC. So absolutely, if they are sort of part of a common association, we can definitely sort of look at doing a master policy. It would be sort of set up exactly how Elliot sort of described it to you as well. So no terms of real changes in terms of coverage or anything, but absolutely, it's something that we've done before.
So if HEA decided to sponsor this, and the member can opt for a small additional charge on their membership, then they could access the program, right?
That's correct. Yeah, there is different ways that we can set it up, and potentially we can have a call with Travis and yourselves offline. But yes, in short, yes.
Okay. Anything else?
I think just sort of whilst I'm speaking, I think what I sort of want to bring to everyone, either in the room or that will listen to this in the future, is that as Elliot and Travis have mentioned, we've been writing cyber since 1999. I've been at CFC for almost 10 years and sort of joined the team in 2015 after the huge Target attack, right? When that was a well-known incident. It was one of the first big cyber incidents that we talk about. A large retailer that had a ton of credit card information stored and sort of the fallout of that. And that's really when cyber took off. And it was really retailers and healthcare entities that were purchasing cyber for their third-party exposure of sort of storing that sensitive information of their customers or their clients. As everything has evolved over the last 10 years, as we've discussed, we've become more reliant on technology. CFC's policy has also evolved and is constantly evolving to take on the current and future threats that may happen. So just because you're purchasing a policy with us now for what we know as the threats today does not mean that it won't change in the future, and we're constantly at the forefront adapting and changing our policy to make it as relevant to the customer and relevant to the exposures that everyone faces. So as Travis said, this is in its infancy. We're at the tip of the iceberg and we're constantly evolving. So sort of partnering with a carrier like CFC means that you're constantly getting coverage for the exposure that your business faces in that specific time period, and not just sort of stuck in the past based on what we may have thought that you may get on a package policy where you may have some cyber thrown in. You're not actually getting some of the coverages that business face today, which is primarily first party coverage in terms of your systems going down, you transferring money as a result. So kind of just wanted to sort of touch on that.
Paige, I got another question.
Sure.
As part of the service, does your organization occasionally send out a newsletter or a bulletin on something that's recently happened so that the members who are currently carrying your coverage get a little heads up on this is the latest attack, check your system, make sure it's not vulnerable to this?
Yes, absolutely. That is standard practice. If there is a big incident, that goes out. If it's just sort of an update, that goes out. And if it's specific to the individual retailer or manufacturer, that goes out from our team as well. So we sort of do it all as, hey, by the way, this is something that we're seeing. This is a particular group that's sitting in Russia and they're targeting manufacturers. These are what you need to do to protect yourselves. So absolutely, we do that regularly.
Anything else? Looks like you pretty well covered everything. And we'll have people available if any retailers or manufacturers are interested in learning more about it. I'll be your contact person here in the States, along with Travis. He works with Amwins, and they're an insurance broker that we access to be able to access programs like this. One of the other things I want to do, I want to thank you guys for taking the time out to put together this presentation. To me, it's rocket science. It's going right over my head, some of these exposures to loss. So thank you very much. It's something that they're going to need. We're going to need to stay on top of and learn as much as we can as time goes by. I also wanted to hand out everyone, and this is something that you guys will probably be aware of too. Nice couple. The old Athens Archery. Yeah. And then on the clear blue sky, Athens Archery gets this cease and desist order from some other manufacturer saying you've infringed on our patent. You gotta stop, and we want money. But they didn't have money to fight it, so they had to close their doors. And did I give